Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Check this out. um, on this episode, what I want to talk about is homecoming season. It's homecoming season for most people, but for me, homecoming season is a great and eventful time full of memories and fun. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, homecoming season is what we refer to, we as um, alumni from HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. This is our homecoming, particularly football homecomings is when you get a chance to come back to the school, watch a great football game sometimes, and just fellowship with your friends and your family and fellow alumni and everything like that. So a couple of weeks ago, I got a chance to experience homecoming at South Carolina State University. As many of you know, or maybe you don't know, I am a proud alum from the university. And I try to get back to homecoming every year. There was a point in time in my life where I know, man, I probably didn't miss. I probably went 10, 15 years like straight, never missing a homecoming. And you have kids and, kids are in events and you end up missing a year or two here, there. But always homecoming is always an event, and this year was no different. So let me just tell you how it actually kind of came together. First and foremost was, as many of you know, or maybe you don't know, which you should know if you've been listening to podcasts long enough, both my wife and I went to we're both alums from South Carolina State University. But Sharice actually went before me, so she left Atlanta before I left. So we didn't travel together going to homecoming. She actually went a day early. She left on 2 days early because she left on Thursday. I left on Saturday morning, and the reason why I left on Saturday morning was because our youngest son Brandon had a football game on Friday night. Didn't want to miss it. They were playing for the regional championships. They won, and so I wanted to make sure that I saw that. My mom came up from South Carolina, and she got a chance to see him play, so that was cool. But that was different because, like I said, we've never can't ever remember us. Now there's been times where we've gone where I went and she didn't go, or she went and I didn't go, and that's been rare. But I was coming, so it was no big deal. So I got up Saturday morning, jumped in the ride, and Orangeburg is probably about, I don't know, maybe about 3.5 hours from Atlanta. So it's not long, it's not far, it's not a bad drive. It's actually a good drive. And so I, got in the car, everything was cool. And surprisingly, I got to Orangeburg relatively quick. And it's always like, there's always a good feeling for me going back home, because I call that home, even though I haven't lived in Orangeburg since I left college. But it's one of my homes, one of the places where I've lived. So it'll always be home. Orangeburg and South Carolina State University will always be home for me because you've heard me talk about the school glowingly on several podcasts. That's where I discovered a lot of things, and I discovered a lot of things about me. So anyway, get to campus. One of the biggest things I think that I personally take away from being at South Carolina State is the vibe that you get on campus. In particular, the vibe on a homecoming Saturday, man, I wish I could package it up and put it in a bottle. I'm telling you, it would be a bestseller. No, there's no doubt in my mind. That vibe, you can't match it anywhere. And I'm sure it's the same at every other HBCU homecoming. It's just, football Saturdays are different on a black college campus. That goes without saying, but it's just, it's a feeling of love. It's a feeling of fellowship. It's a feeling of enjoyment. It's a feeling of fulfillment. It's a feeling of accomplishment. It's a feeling of achievement. All of those things rolled up into one. And it's a feeling of fun because, trust me, if you go to a black college homecoming, you're going to have fun. And my homecoming is no different. I know that there are some homecomings out here that have these phrases. We all know the one. What's the one? I can't come to mind. The school up in Greensboro, they call it the greatest homecoming on earth. And I mean, it's a pretty damn good homecoming. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not even gonna hold you. And the school up in DC, what's the name of school in DC? Oh, Howard. Yeah, they have a pretty live homecoming too, from what I've been told. But the title that our homecoming has been given for the last, I don't know, 20, maybe 30 years, I guess. The livest homecoming in America. And I see a hashtag all the time, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was us. So I was like, all right, cool. But I mean, I don't. None of that stuff phases me because I'm there. One, I'm probably one of the few people that actually, when I go to homecoming, I actually want to see the game. As a former football player, yeah, I want to see my friends. I want to see my teammates. That's the most important thing. I want to see my friends. I want to see my teammates. Because there's nothing like seeing, guys that you came in and you played ball with and you had blood, sweat, and tears with, and you got a chance to bond over that experience over 4, at sometimes 5 years. And for some guys, maybe the bond wasn't that long, but we're Bulldogs. That's our school mascot, and so that feeling of love is always there. So the vibe on campus is crazy. So I was ready to get on campus, but I have beef. I have beef with our school as far as how they handle the parking. That's my only beef of the whole weekend. Where I parked, like where I came in, like there's several different entrances. I decided to come in the front of the campus. You can either come in the front or you come in the back. If you come in the front, that's where everybody goes. And I decided not to come in the back because I think the back mostly is for season ticket holders and whatever. I don't know. But I figured it'd probably be easier for me to go in the front of the campus. So I go to the front of the campus, come on the side entrance because there's a main entrance and the side entrance. I come in on the side entrance and there's a line, there's a wait. And we're all turning into this one little road. And y'all know me, I don't like waiting for anything. So I'm very impatient. But the wait was probably about 20 minutes. Because the game was on TV, the game was on ESPN2, I think. So it's being televised on ESPN. So our kickoff time normally at homecoming is 1:30. This year it was at 3:30, which was cool because, quite honestly, what happens is a lot of people go to the parade. The homecoming parade starts at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and the parade is a couple of hours. And then people leave the parade, they kind of mill around, and then they go to the stadium because the game's usually at 1:30. And so this year was different. So I skipped the parade because I got up, man. Well, I skipped the parade because I would have had to have left Atlanta like dumb early. I think I got on the road probably like 8 o'clock, 8:30. So I was in Orangeburg like 11-ish, something like that. Got to the hotel, picked up Sharice, and then we came on campus. And so we we get on campus, like I said, the parking, I didn't like the parking. I didn't like we gotta handle that. Other than the parking, I mean, I didn't have any problem. The university has this thing called a game zone. So once you get on campus, you can only go but so close to the stadium. And then once you get closer to the campus, once you get closer to the stadium, you enter what they call the game zone. So if you enter the game zone, it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, everybody has to have a ticket. So I saw earlier this year, because homecoming happens at HBCUs mostly between the end of September through the end of or mid-November. I saw a couple of HBCUs, or at least alumni, online complaining about the fact that, they were basically having to pay a game ticket just to be on campus. And we've been doing this at South Carolina State probably for the better part of the last 10, 15 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. And the reason being is that, and I get it, because here's the thing. You can't have, like our stadium seats 22,000, right? You can't have 22,000 people in the stadium and then another 20,000 outside in the parking lot, and you're not getting any money from those people who are on campus but not doing anything. And so, like, there was a lot of beef about it before, and people didn't like it, but you honestly, you can't lose out on that money. So at $40 a ticket, we had to pay. So it's like, so every person, so I don't care if you're a baby in a stroller, it is what it is. You gotta pay the money. So it was an event. I think the biggest thing that I took away from that was seeing people, not in my school, but like I said, fellow HBCU alums, kind of come to the reality that that's where HBCUs are. I mean, you just can't have people just hanging out on the campus and you're not getting any money from them, because if you don't get a game ticket from them, what are they doing on campus? I mean, they're just kind of hanging out. So you can't afford to blow those opportunities financially. So the announced attendance was 23,000, I think, something like that. But I'll be honest, it probably was 22,000, 23,000 in the stadium. And it might have been another 15,000 out just tailgating. I mean, they paid to be on campus. So it is what it is. But, like I said, the vibe on campus is always cool. One of the things that you will learn when you enter our campus, particularly on homecoming, tailgating. Tailgating is bananas. I mean, like, you can smell the food cooking. You don't even have to be on campus and you can smell the food. Like, it's just that crazy. And the wild part about it is that, like, you can always go on campus and no matter what, no matter who you are, you're going to eat. Yes, you are going to eat, and you're going to eat good. And you don't have to necessarily know anybody. Like, you could literally be walking through tailgates, and if you stop and speak to somebody, hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm doing well. Hey, come on, get something to eat. People will just randomly invite you to eat. Like, nobody leaves campus. Nobody enters campus and leaves campus hungry. I'm a firm believer in that. Like, never, ever. I remember even when I played, we would, after homecoming, we would kind of just walk through the tailgate areas and stuff like that. And if you got on like your jersey or you have on some paraphernalia with your numbers and stuff on it, people would feed you. They would give you money, and the whole nine. So like it's that kind of vibe and that kind of love. So tailgating, like I said, if you ever come to South Carolina State's homecoming, and if you enter the campus, you can come on the campus full. I mean, you can come on the campus hungry, but you won't leave hungry. I'll put it like that. And that's with anybody. You can get something to eat. You can get something to drink. I here's the thing. If I'm not tailgating, and this year my brother was tailgating, so I made sure I ate something before I got on campus, but I wasn't full. But my brother, who's also an alum, and his wife, my sister-in-law, they're both alums. They met at South Carolina State as well. So Damon and Janya were tailgating. So I knew I was going to eat over there too as well. But I mean, like I said, you don't ever go on campus, and if you go to someone's tailgate and you're just standing there talking to somebody, it won't be long before somebody offers you some food. I mean, that's just how we do it. But one of the great highlights from that particular weekend, man, was running into and finally meeting face to face a fellow podcaster, the homie Danny Foxworth. If you follow the podcast, you know that Danny's been on here, and I've been on his podcast as well, both of his podcasts actually. And man, it was great to finally meet the brother. And because what happened was I think I did his podcast maybe about a month or so ago, and he said, I think he made mention that he might be coming to South Carolina State. So he asked me, I think, and I said, yeah. I said, I'll be there. And he said, well, I may be down there too. I said, well, if you do come, holler at me, let me know. And so the week of, I think he shot me a DM and he was like, yo, he said, you gonna be at homecoming? I was like, yeah, I'll be there. He said, all right, so we'll meet up. I said, okay, bet. So I sent him we exchanged numbers, and probably as soon as I got into Columbia when I was on my way in, he texted me. He's like, yo, I'm on campus, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, well, I'm here. I got to go to a hotel, pick up my wife. And I was like, I'll be on campus around this time or whatever like that. And so, we were texting or whatever, and I let him know when I was getting close by. And so then when we got on campus, walked down to where my brother was tailgating, and we were hanging out with them. And I texted him, I was like, yo, I'm over here. And I was like, I'm by the basketball gym to the left of it. He's like, all right, I'm coming. And he was just a little bit further down on campus, on the other side of campus. But he said, I'm coming through with he said, I'll have on a Piggly Wiggly hoodie. And so Danny comes. So I see him walking up, man. He walks up, man. We give a big embrace. And it was dope. It was dope because, like I said, it's somebody who he found my podcast. And I want to say, I think the first episode he heard was the shoe show episode, which is still one of the funniest episodes we've done. That was me, Zell, and Derek on that episode. But yeah, it was dope, man. And man, we must have chopped it up, man, probably about 35, 40 minutes. I mean, it was a while. And like, it was cool, man. We were talking about, our podcast, and I was telling him how much of a fan I was. He obviously told me he was a fan. And the thing that I think one of the things that stood out from the conversation was like, if you follow Danny's podcast, Danny, he started earlier this year. And like, if you listen to his podcast now from earlier this year, he sounds totally different. Not that he sounded bad when he started, but you can tell that he's, perfected his craft. And you can see the growth. And I remember when he reached out to me saying that he wanted to start a podcast, and I just gave him a couple of pointers. I didn't, I just told him a little bit of what I know. And but yeah, man, it was dope meeting him, man. And I didn't even think about it until I got to my seat. I was like, he came and he's watching the game. I was like, shit, he could have came and sat with me because he came solo, and I didn't even think about it until we had, parted ways or whatever like that. And probably by the time I got in the stadium, if I'd have texted him, it'd probably been forever for him to try to get to where I was. Because I ended up meeting up with one of my teammates, well, actually two of my teammates, and we sat on the visitor side because the home side was just like crazy packed. But yeah, man, it was dope meeting that. And funny thing is, all right, so later on that evening, I'm chilling. I get a little notification from Spotify. Danny is already, he went to the game, chilled, left. He's from Moncks Corner. Moncks Corner is maybe about an hour from Orangeburg, if that. He goes home. He records a podcast about our meeting, and I mean that just goes to show you just how dope he is, man. I wasn't expecting that. He gave me my flowers, and again, I appreciate Danny, man. Salute to you, man. Thanks again for coming through. We gotta hang again, and like I said, I if I had thought about it, I would have been like, yo, you could have, because he really could have came and sat with us because there was nobody sitting around us at first, and then once the game started, because we walked in the game right as the game was starting. But yeah, that's dope. I mean, sometimes, I haven't had any bad experiences meeting other fellow podcasters, but sometimes you can meet people and people are aloof. They'll look goofy. They whack. But nah, Danny's a cool dude. I mean, I knew that already, but straight up brother, man. Like I said, good seeing him and good hanging out with him. And then there was a game. There was a game. Not sure if you knew this, but South Carolina State did win. The score was, what was the score? 27-24, I think. Let me look it up because I forgot what the score was. I think it was 27-24. But it was a great game. It was a great game. Yeah, 27-24. The weather was perfect. It was about 75 degrees. I had on a hoodie, but the hoodie was necessary. Trust me, when the game ended, because once the sun goes down, it gets pretty cool. One thing I'll say too is, speaking as far as like hoodie, before I get into the game, here's the thing that I will tell you that's different probably about my school and other schools, like paraphernalia. Like, you can see people, you won't see no three people wearing the same it'll be South Carolina State gear, but it'll be totally different. Like, everybody has different things that they wear. If it's a hoodie, if it's a shirt, if it's a t-shirt, if it's an outfit, people have school paraphernalia and I've never seen this in any other school where like it's so different between everybody. You can see, I could line up 10 people across the grass, and all 10 people will have on South Carolina State paraphernalia, but it'll all be different things. And so like there's always like a little competition within the alumni. Like we just try to make sure that we come back. And yeah, you got some people that's going to be trying to look fly, but everybody still has different gear, and we try to make sure that we get gear that nobody else has. Because I know for myself, anytime like I wear a hoodie or a sweatshirt or a shirt, I want to wear something that I don't want nobody else to have. So I sometimes I will go to obscure at websites. Sometimes I will get my stuff personally made, just to be different, because that's how we are. That's what we're Bulldogs. That's what we're about. But anyway, it was a close game. Howard is a really good team. I didn't think that we'd win because I thought Howard was a better team. But we pulled it off. Pulled off the win. We had a running back, Jawan Howell, who he rushed for 283 yards. Yeah, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was a killer. I mean, he did him in that game. He did his thing. And so shout out to him, because I don't think I hadn't seen a rushing performance like that in a long time. But it's been a disappointing season. We haven't gotten the results that we thought that we'd get. Our head coach, Buddy Pugh, announced at the beginning of the season that this would be his last. I think he's in season 22. So salute the coach, who is rounding out by the time you hear this. He's getting ready for his last game of his career at Norfolk against Norfolk State. So it's been a rough season. We've only won 4 games, but the homecoming game was, it was a huge win for us. Bragging rights, because now I can talk trash to my friends who are Howard alums. Shout out to y'all. You know who you are. I could call your name out, but I'm not. But so it's been a rough year. So to get the win, I think was very important, and it's fitting that everything was perfect. There were parties. There was a day party on Friday. I didn't attend because I wasn't there, but Zai threw a killer day party. Zai is the brothers from Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. They threw a killer day party on Friday. I heard people were still trying to recover from it on Saturday. It was just that live. I didn't go to that one, but I did go to the party at Edisto Gardens on Saturday night after the game. Now, here's the interesting thing. Because of a mix-up, Sharice and I purchased tickets for 2 different parties. So she was at the party at the Palladium, I think. I think it's Palladium. I think it's called the Palladium. So she was at the Palladium. I was at Edisto Gardens. So we were at 2 different parties, and that never happens. But and my party her party is going to be DJed by DJ Shakim, and Shakim also DJ'd at the party that I went to. He was there first. He did the first set of the party, and then DJ Turk Nice finished up his set. And I actually missed Shakim's set. As I was pulling up, Shakim was getting off, and I got a chance to hear DJ Turk Nice and Dirk. Both of them incredible DJs. If you ever get a chance to hear either one of them, they will blow you away. And good dudes. And so partied at Edisto Gardens, and then it got to a point I was like, all right, man, it's time to go. I was like, yeah, it had been a long day. And so I think I got to the room probably about, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 1:30, something like that. I do remember looking at my phone, and the time changed. So I knew I was up. And so Sunday morning, we got up, and we made a stop before we left. Well, actually, no, we didn't make a stop. We left, and then we stopped in Columbia to see my brother and my sister-in-law and my niece and nephews, and spent some time with them. And then we headed on back to Atlanta. And so it was a great weekend. It was a short weekend for me, relatively speaking, because I only got Saturday. I'm normally there on Fridays. Sometimes, next year I might be there on Thursday. Who knows? But still a lot of fun, man. Homecoming is something different. Like I said, it's a different vibe. It's kind of hard really to put into words. Having played football at South Carolina State University. There's a special feeling that I get just being on campus. There's a spiritual feeling that I get when I step in the stadium. And I don't mean that like in a comical way, but like it's hard to explain what being inside that stadium means because I have so many memories, not just games, but practices and everything. And so like when you step inside the stadium, you feel that rush of emotion. I remember probably the first time that I came back to a game as an alum and I stepped in the stadium, I was literally in tears. And I'm not somebody who is emotional about a lot of stuff, but like I had to like calm myself because like, I mean, like this was the same stadium that we won in. This was the same stadium where I graduated at. So like having come back as an alum and not participating in football, not participating in anything, just being an alum, it was just something different. And just the emotions of being in the stadium just kind of came out at me. But it's always fun to go back. It's always fun to go back. And I would encourage each and every one of you, if you're ever in or around Orangeburg, find out when homecoming is. Well, you can go to any home game. You're going to have some fun, but homecoming is something special. It is something special. I want to leave you with this quote, and I saw this online, and I don't know. It was something that I saw. I was scrolling through Instagram, and it came up, and I don't know who to give credit to, so I'm not gonna make it sound like it's mine because it's not my quote. But the quote reads as follows: "If you wonder why so many HBCU alumni go so hard for their homecoming, it's because HBCUs represent the 4+ years in our lives in which we weren't the minority, we weren't an affinity group, or an afterthought. It's a Black sacred ground." Close quote. Now, again, I didn't write that. I don't know who wrote it, but that specifically describes the HBCU experience. That specifically describes how we feel about homecoming. And it's always good to go home. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thank you for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. From time to time, we drop bonus episodes on Sundays at midnight. If you feel so inclined, be sure to hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Also, check us out on TikTok. We're now on TikTok, 12 Kyle Podcast on TikTok, as well as all of the socials. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's.
I love my HBCU. I love my HBCU. I love my HBCU. SC, SU, SC, SU. I love my HBCU. I love my HBCU. I love my HBCU. SC, SU, SC, SU. Yeah, and I woke up like this, proud to be a part of something outstanding. Them land grants from state to Claflin, educating Black since 1896. I'm representing the Gardner and Blue, and no they can't shut us down because we way too historical. Legendary homecoming, you probably coming too. Your mom dukes, your daddy, your grandma too. We tailgating, the state is still hating, refuse to give us money, don't worry though, we'll raise it. It's in our creed, responsibility for intellectual growth, academic integrity. That bulldog pride, those bulldogs live. You can never put us bulldogs down, we stand up. My mission, my purpose, my goal, my statement is to make sure nobody asks where South Carolina State went. Because I love my HBCU.